Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to humbly present my research study entitled The Experiences in the Enforcement of Minimum Health and Security Protocols, the Case Study of BPSO in Tolosa, Leyte. This study will be presented by yours truly, the author of this study. I am Princess Rodriguez Lirios, a licensed criminologist and a university instructor at Visayas State University under the Department of Criminology, College of Criminal Justice Education. I acquired my specialization in forensic polygraphy at the Professional Academy of the Philippines last April 2017, and I also obtained my master's degree at the University of Cebu main campus in March 2018. I am a proud reservist under the Army Reserve Command, and I completed my training in Tacloban City, Philippines. Currently, I am a student of a doctor in philosophy in criminology at the University of the Cordilleras. And for the abstract of the study, so this study basically pertains to the experiences of the Barangay Police Safety Officers, or the BPSOs, in enforcing the minimum health and safety protocols in Tolosa, Leyte. Likewise, this study aims to explore the problems encountered and the coping mechanisms of the participants of this study. This study utilized the qualitative research design in a form of a case study. All in all, there were 7 participants who underwent an individual interview with the aid of an interview guide and an audio recording device. It was being accomplished with the aid of consent form by the participants, who was also being secured by the researcher to signify the participants' voluntariness in participating in the data gathering. The researcher made use of the catalysis method in treating the gathered data, and out of the responses that are being analyzed by the researcher, the following themes were formulated: community towards COVID-19 protocol implementation, adaptation from the changes in the new normal, barangay council, its vigor to mediate, and legislative assistance as BPO's problems arises. The findings of the study are as follows. From the experiences of the BPSOs, the researcher found out that the community responses had really affected the performance of our BPSOs in the proper implementation of protocols. Also, each barangay varies in policy implementation, and the changes in the routine of work of the participants also affect their personal time in looking for means of living. Of the problems encountered by the participants, the researcher found that there was leniency in attendance and performance monitoring of the participants. There were insufficient support for personal protective equipment such as alcohol, mask, and other protective equipment, inconsistent remuneration for hazards, incidental fees, and allowances, and for the coping mechanisms employed by our participants. They just ignore and disregard the effects that they were able to encounter from the problems, and there were no stress debriefing or intervention programs that were being given to our participants by the barangay. For the brief background of the study, the researchers' interest arouses in studying the experiences of the BPSOs, since aside from the general community, who is known to be affected and continually adjusting on the new normal, the local law implementers, specifically the BPSOs, likewise suffer from various effects of the pandemic, and as much as in the effects of strict implementations of laws during the pandemic. The BPSOs are considered as an auxiliary in law enforcement, as per mentioned in NAPOLCOM Memo Circular 2008-13. Also, the DILG recognizes BPSOs as persons in authority to respond to any type of atrocity at the barangay level and to promote public safety. And they are also the ones who are being mandated in order to implement the National Action Plan, which is being released by the IATF. All in all, The nature of this study is to understand the experiences and consequences caused by the pandemic to the law implementers, the BPSOs for this study, to plan and look into appropriate interventions that would help improve and develop the capabilities of law implementers, as well as to give them adequate support to the needs, providing them appropriate training, provide them with materials or equipment. So as mentioned a while ago on the nature and background of the study, the objectives of this study is first to explore the experiences of the BPSOs in the enforcement of security and health protocols in Tolosa, Leyte. Second, to reveal the problems encountered by the BPSOs. And third, to identify the coping mechanisms of the BPSOs when challenges arises. And for the methodology, the researcher made use for her research design, the qualitative research design through case study. So this study was being participated by our dear BPSOs, or the Barangay Police Security Officers from Tolosa, Leyte. And the data gathering tool that was being employed by the researcher was in the form of an interview guide, which is being approved by the panel before the conduct of the study. And for the treatment of data, the researcher made use of the Colysis method in extracting, transcribing, and interpreting the data gathered. After gathering and treating the data, the researcher was able to formulate the following themes. So I have actually formulated 4 general themes, which are the community towards COVID-19 protocol implementation, under which we have 2 sub-themes, the adverse response of the community amidst pandemic, and the coherence of protocols in a phase of pandemic. Another theme was the adaptation from the changes in the new normal, under which we have the covenant of work before and during the pandemic and curfew implementation. Third theme that was being formulated was the Barangay Council, its vigor to mediate, under which we have the duty detail and attendance monitoring and the capability of the council to support BPSOs. And for the last one is the legislative's assistance as BPO's problems arises. For the summary findings, we have here according to objectives as being presented. So we have the first one as to the experiences of the BPSOs. So based on the statement of the BPSOs, the following are the factors that contribute to their various experiences. First, we have the community's reaction, both on the positive and negative responses of the community. Second, intervention of the Barangay Council, or the awareness and programs implemented by the Barangay Council. And the third is the transition to new normal, which is the shifts of works and affects the financial aspect of our BPSOs. And now for the second objective, which is the problems encountered. So out of the significant responses, the following are the problems encountered of the BPSOs. First, we have the Barangay Council is lenient in terms of attendance checking and monitoring of duty details of their BPSOs, to the extent that BPSOs can still receive a complete salary, and even if they have absences from their duty. Second, the BPSOs provide their own PPE, such as masks, face shields, and alcohol. Third, the BPSOs do not receive hazard or incidental fees every month. Fourth, not all barangays give additional allowance to BPSOs. And the last, there is no hands-on training or simulation conducted on how the BPSOs can do first aid, defense tactics, and proper conduct of checkpoints in their respective duties. And for the last objective, which is the coping mechanisms, below is the revealed coping mechanism shared by the BPSOs. So the BPSOs only rely on the Barangay Council and LGU on how to solve a particular situation at the barangay level, and they would just ignore and deal on their own the effects, emotional, financial, and mental, which are being caused by their problems encountered. They do not undergo stress debriefing. And for the conclusions of this study, out of the findings presented, the researcher had formulated the following conclusions. First, the BPSOs are affected by how the community had responded on the implementation of the protocols, from which, if the community would observe that the Barangay Council, LGU, and the law enforcement authorities are firm and is consistent in support, the community would at least be controlled or deterred from deviating on the set protocols, and that it would be at least be controlled and would be easier on the part of the BPSOs to enforce any type of law ordinance. Second, various problems arises as encountered by the BPSOs, and these are rooted from the irregular monitoring and consultation of the Council towards the BPSOs. The problems that they have encountered can be resolved and addressed if only being given attention and consideration. Lastly, the coping mechanisms determined by the BPSOs are insufficient and could not fully address the unpleasant effects it may cause to the well-being of the BPSOs. Obviously, this study is somehow an underdog because it is very basic, simple, and common. However, the researcher extremely believe that in order to achieve any type of success, may it be in careers or any path we are taking, it is always begin in simple and humble beginnings. May this study be an eye-opener to our legislators to give more focus on the development and capability trainings of our local law implementers, the BPSOs for this matter. With this, may we help our national arena in assuring that policy are well implemented even on the lowest level of implementers. To end this, may I take the opportunity to thank people who helped me in one way or another to realize this study. May the good Lord bless you even more. Again, maraming salamat po.